Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Talking Point here on WESN, the Content Capital. My name is Keaton Shaw, with you for another edition of the program this morning. A couple of days before Christmas, we hope you're feeling jolly and merry, though it seems as though some are not feeling the true spirit of the season for various reasons. I'll get into that topic in a little bit, but first let me introduce my co-host and colleague, alongside me, Mr. Sean Michael Small. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Keaton. And I stand corrected from our conversation yesterday, as you pointed out this morning. I thought maybe with the slowdown with murders, we might actually miss 600. We might fall short. But then we had, at least four murders yesterday alone, and that's put us within striking distance.
We had 593.
593.
As it currently stands, yes. Following the murder, actually, of a mother and her one-year-old daughter.
So I think I was severely underestimating because it was 577 as of Friday. So you have to look at the weekend murders and any murders yesterday. So if that was enough to put us at 593, that's a big jump, by the way. So I'm wondering if the local papers also, perhaps it depends on whose count is more accurate. Regardless, 4 murders in one day, or more, that's one hell of a pace. It should have been 5 at the very least, because from what I understand, a mother and a daughter were murdered, and the father, I believe, was shot. So potentially the criminals were essentially looking to, well, I'm not sure if murder was their intent, but then again, why use a gun if your intent is to wound as a criminal?
Put it this
So
way.
the father was also a target, and he was lucky to survive, although one would argue he might not feel so lucky right now, unfortunately.
Ironic in this instance, but we must actually commend the TTPS for the quick action. They were able to actually detain 2 suspects who were actually trying to access the highway. So well done to the TTPS. Very sad and unfortunate news again as it relates to children here in Trinidad and Tobago. It seems as though that, it's often said that if an individual does any harm, and if a criminal does any harm to a child, when they go to prison, justice will be dealt upon them by prisoners.
Well,
gangs and criminals do not actually interfere with children, and children are not supposed to be a part of anything. But what I'm realizing more and more is that is changing. I mean, don't get me wrong, the whole instance of crime and criminality in Trinidad and Tobago it's increasing. It's getting worse on a daily basis. But now that children seem to be not necessarily a target, but there's no care at all for whether or not children are aware of a firing gun, essentially the firing line, then I guess hope, Sean, which I was very little of before, even for your kids now, you can't guarantee anything in this life right now.
So therein lies the question. Does the criminal community, for lack of a better way to phrase it, have the rules changed? Are they now generally accepting violence against the vulnerable? Because one would think that, okay, yes, it's not impossible for an old person or a relatively young individual, not necessarily a child or a toddler or anything like that. They might still be targets, especially if they interfere in some way. Fine, okay. But still, I always was under the impression that it was frowned upon. You try to avoid that. It's a different low. It's a lower level, a further lack of morals that even some criminals, it goes against, look, if you're there to try to earn money illegally, what's the point of being like a total mean bastard doing it, going after the defenseless in a violent way? However, perhaps now, given the circumstances, there's no longer that thought process. It could be that the new generations just weren't taught from their predecessors, or it could just be that the situation is just more dire. Maybe the stakes have risen to the point where they've lost all consideration for other things they deem unnecessary, and now criminal activities between gang warfare and what have you has gotten more serious and deadly. However, with that said, so there's one aspect of potentially criminals might police themselves from the most heinous of crimes. But what happens if the police got the wrong suspects? And I say this because there are too many incidents now for the public to just have blind faith in the TTPS. I'm not saying that all police officers are bad, and I'm hoping it could very well be that these police officers that got these two suspects, they went the extra mile. They were able to get maybe a lucky break or two because it was rather fast.
But Sean, this is why individuals are labeled as suspects and not labeled as
Well,
criminals.
so the reason why I say this is, from what I understand, one of the two gentlemen that was detained and questioned and subsequently died under mysterious circumstances in the Andrea Barrett investigation was potentially the person who rented out his car, no questions asked, for cash, and potentially had nothing to do with the case except providing a vehicle, not knowing what the vehicle was provided for.
You do also understand that if you are not aware, and it's a fair point that we can verify with an attorney at law, even with acting SP Ashraf Ali when he's on the program, you do know that if your vehicle is used in any sort of crime, you can also be charged.
Yeah, yes, it's possible, but I would think that if you are legitimately oblivious to what happened, at the very least, what is the point of interrogating you to the extreme edge of causing your death? Pretty sure there's something unethical there that even criminal judges or criminal courts would not necessarily stand, no matter what law is on the books, because not only are you essentially killing a source of information, right? And again, maybe I'm mixing up cases here, but and I want to put the disclaimer. This is what I've heard, right? The possibility exists. I've heard that it happened in this case. The possibility exists that it can happen, and yeah, I understand what you're saying, but if I don't know what my car is being used for, if Econocar rents me a car, do I tell them, oh, well, I'm using the car to drive down to this specific spot to meet this specific people?
Yes, but there is still a difference because you have to provide your information to Econocar and they in return provide you with a receipt.
You could ask Econocar for that. Who rented the car? How long they rented the car for? Mm-hmm. The ID and all of the specific particulars that's given.
An individual who is, it's like purchasing stolen goods. You may not know that that it is stolen goods. You may not know that it's stolen items that you're purchasing.
No, that's different.
No, because put it this way, at the end of the day, you always have to be wise about what you do. For example, this individual rented his car without any questions being asked for hard cash.
Okay, when I say without any questions being asked, what car rental asks you?
It doesn't matter.
Your itinerary.
It doesn't, to me.
No. What car rental asks you?
You ask me a question, let me answer your question. You ask me a question, give me an opportunity to answer it. My point that I'm making is, whilst I hear what you are saying, the difference is whether or not they asked him, what are you going to use the car for? Usually beforehand, you know how many days the car is going to be rented for, as in the time period it's going to be rented for. You have that person's information on file. You have all their information on file. And thirdly, you get a receipt. And that is most important. That's why I said it's similar to stolen goods. The biggest difference where I said you could be smart is if you purchase an item, you should always receive a receipt. If you don't receive a receipt with the information from the company on it, then you should be suspicious. It's a similar instance with respect to this individual renting your car. Maybe times in Trinidad and Tobago was so tough, even back then, where people needed cash. But you cannot be so stupid enough to rent your car just because somebody's waving $100 bills in front of you. You must always question, why does this individual want to use my vehicle? For what purpose? Do I trust this individual using my vehicle? Because the next question I'm going to ask is, what is the relationship between the suspects involved in the brutal murder of Andrea Barrett and the individual who rented his car? And this is from what you're hearing. I can't verify.
From what I understand, he was accustomed to renting out his car. I don't know to what degree he gave records. When I say no questions asked, it was basically the fact that it's obvious he doesn't know what the intentions are. And coincidentally, I took my friend to rent a car, right, from an individual just this Friday gone, right? Now, with regards to paperwork, and I don't know what is involved, but for the most part, you could more or less get at the very least, maybe not physical evidence, but definitely you could get information by questioning the man, right? He could give you the name, whatever, blah, 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 right? Why does he have to? My point was, if what I heard was true, you get somebody who is not an actual suspect in a crime that is potentially killed. Now these two gentlemen, we don't know if, to what degree. They're suspects, it's not proven. If they go into the system and the system deals with them in the way that might happen, well, it might be a miscarriage of justice if that ends up being the case. Because again, our 1-year-old being shot is a heavy crime. And it is something that a lot of people might be quick to condemn individuals who are suspected of being involved for.
So the basis of the argument with respect to getting information out of the suspect, at the end of the day, any individual dying within police custody,
yes,
whether or not they're a legitimate suspect, or whatever the case may be. In other words, and I shouldn't even say legitimate suspect, if an individual is being given the term as suspect, it doesn't mean that they're guilty of the crime.
Which is something we seem to forget.
Exactly.
I mean, a lot of societies, that's why, even in the States, in the UK, in Canada, being under suspicion, a public figure under suspicion, the public generally tends to just want to condemn them right away.
Right, so these two individuals, let's use last night, for example. These two individuals who were detained by the police as suspects, they are not labeled as guilty of the crime as yet or labeled as criminals, but they're taken in for police questioning. Any individual linked or associated to a crime or any suspect, questioning is absolutely important. So I will agree, any individual dying in police custody, any individual,
his testimony potentially dies with him.
individual at all, right? But that also has to, that makes you wonder more so not necessarily about the crime that was committed with Andrea Barth. You realize that at that time, the situation surrounding Andrea Barth was overshadowed, I'm talking about at that particular period, by the fact that these individuals died whilst in police custody. So what that pointed to, at least in my opinion, is the situation within law enforcement and whether or not law enforcement has any handlings, and I have to be very, very careful of how I put this across, right? And I'm putting it across as a question because I simply do not know. I am not labeling anybody in any form or fashion, and I'm not saying this is the case. I am questioning at that time, even up till now, because this investigation with respect to these individuals, is law enforcement involved?
What was the word on the street as to the potential motive for her disappearance and subsequent killing?
At that time, it was essentially a bail racket. Because of her position, it was said or suggested that Andrea Barth, unfortunately, discovered something or saw something that she should not have.
And she tried to
report. That was at that time. And all these things are never resolved. But the genesis of we start off speaking about children being killed, being in the firing line.
Well,
it seems as though there's no policing of criminals by themselves anymore.
Right.
It's just a ranking amongst them.
So here's the flip side. Not all, in that situation, if all that we've heard, the rumors that we've heard are true, then it implies that Andrea Barth died for nefarious purposes. Not necessarily all police killings are due to cover-up crimes. It could be criminal, but in the sense of overzealous policing. So there's that flip side as well. Because I could understand that when you have a situation where children, especially a 1-year-old, is killed, the police officers involved in the case might not look upon any suspects very kindly. And while I would not say that it excuses that behavior, it makes it understandable, as opposed to the situation that we saw last week in Belmont. If it was the case of a violent crime against a child and the police officer roughs up the suspect, I would still say that he should not do it, and there's no excuse for it. It's unnecessary, but I have a greater understanding for it. So it's just one of those things, but it's hard to give, again, when these serious situations come out, there are too many questions now, and we need better answers. Because the thing is, here's the irony. We could try to show people, okay, but consider this. It's not necessarily all bad from the TTPS. But the public, generally speaking, given the stories that we've seen over the last year and a half, between the Andrea Barth suspects, between the death of PC Gaix and how the the then suspect was eventually found killed afterwards, you know, when forensic evidence potentially exonerated him of all suspicion in that case, as well as other situations. It's hard to fully trust that these things are going in the right direction.
I don't think the TTPS is all bad, but I certainly think that there's a lot within the TTPS that they need to clean up, and it's a very difficult situation, and it's a war within the TTPS itself. The TTPS is at war itself, but my question to you, before we go to the break, think about it. The dictionary definition of civil war is a war between citizens of the same country. According to Stafford University, civil war refers to a violent conflict between organized groups within a country that are fighting over control of governance. Right? So you have the dictionary definition, and then you have Stafford's definition. Is TNT right now battling a civil war? Is there civil war taking place within Trinidad and Tobago? And in fact, that's a question actually for all you callers who are viewing in this morning to figure out for yourself and share with us your answers and your opinions later on after the 9 o'clock news on the hour. So think about it. Is Trinidad and Tobago right now battling a civil war? Is civil war taking place in TNT? We'll be right back after this.
Step into a spacious place of creative ideas for your home space. Our floor and wall tiles and natural stone is ideal for any use you need in your home. Toilet, bathroom sets and vanities lend design to your creativity, while jacuzzis and shower enclosures create the mood for dwelling on life's pleasures. Lamps and lighting fixtures add ambience and memorable pictures. Making your home a work of art. Oceans Industrial Complex, Union Road, Marabella.
It's the season to be jolly. That brings a smile. That lasts a lifetime from Simon's Musical Supplies. We have drums of all kinds. Quattro, mara, guitar, trumpet, clarinets, and flutes. Musical dreams all come true. At Simon's, we have it all for you. A violin, a mandolin, steel pan, a piano, or simply a music stand. Music books and everything for a band. Simon's Musical Supplies.
Come visit our new location, 20 Bolt Street, Port of Spain, or call 625-6412.
Musical dreams all come true. Your Christmas is safe with us at PCU. Police Credit Union. Police Credit Union. Your Christmas is safe with us at PCU. Police Credit Union. PCU. Police Credit Union.
Get an easy zero-interest Christmas loan at Police Credit Union today. Borrow up to $25,000 with affordable monthly payments. New members, you get up to $10,000. No interest, no installments until January. Apply online at www.policecreditunion.com. Loan subject to credit approval.
The best laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get a Gateway 14.1-inch Ultra Slim notebook or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32-DBEST to order or visit us in-store at Forces flagship MacBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery.
I am Rondell Donowa, attorney at law and host of Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Strictly Legal is a legal program geared towards informing you, the public, of your legal rights, responsibilities, and remedies. So be viewing Thursdays 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
Welcome back to the program. Now, I don't know if you have an answer, an opinion that you'd like to
Well,
share.
here is the thing, and if you follow American politics closely, depending on who you speak to, especially I think independent media, but I do wonder if mainstream media is bringing it up more. That term civil war has been thrown about a lot over the last couple of years because of the volatility between both Hillary Clinton and Trump and that election, then Biden and Trump's election, also the sidelining of Bernie Sanders and other Democratic candidates, who were seen as people that moderates potentially were looking towards as sane individuals who weren't caught up in the craziness of their overall political bubble. And when you look at what's going on over there and see some of the results, now America's a big country, so the results happen somewhat in isolated pockets, but they have some situations that to me are crazy.
But what about
and
it's
driving their language to get more extreme. So now when we look at Trinidad and Tobago, one thing is we're not so spread out. Everything is a bit more concentrated. But there is still pockets, different parts of the country, of course, town versus San Fernando, Tobago. It's not as though it's we're all smashed together and everybody's on top of each other. But with that said, I could see where, depending, because we like to follow fashion too, and you're seeing a little bit of it here and there with regards to some of the ideological thinking. Just not full out, but we like to follow fashion too. When that translates now, because our circumstances are not the same, we already have a political atmosphere that is very combative. When is the last time we've seen the opposition and the government, whichever party makes up whichever side, actually collaborate to put forward legislation for the benefit of the country, right? When is the last time that we've actually seen even communication? The only time, at least in the life of Talking Point, that we know of from my memory, where two political parties, at the very least, we were told they were communicating well, was between the recently elected PDP's THA administration, with Farley Augustine and Faith Israel, and central government. That's the only time, right? With regards to the opposition parties, even with regards to the local government, regional corporations, city, borough corporations, etc., we don't necessarily hear a lot of good things with the working relationship. But what we do hear is a lot of very emotionally charged language. And now I wonder, how long will it be before the diehard supporters take that emotionally charged language? Because to the politicians, they just rallying up the base to get votes, to keep their support. But eventually somebody's going to take it seriously. They're not going to think that you're speaking rhetorically. They're going to take it literally. And when they take it literally, then you're going to get a crazy here or there that might actually act on it, ignite a powder keg, and I don't know where that will end.
I don't think that and this may seem rather insulting, but it's just my opinion. I don't think that the population actually takes things rhetorically. I actually believe that every word and this is why it's absolutely, especially grassroots politics, very, very important as to how careful those on a platform should be in what they say and what they do. I don't think the population ever takes anything rhetorically. I think they always take everything literally. Because I mean, in conversations with individuals out on the street, you can hear their thoughts and opinion by quoting what some ministers or what some MPs, what they've suggested or stated on a political platform. And this is why it's absolutely important. You see, the thing is, I don't think that Trinidad and Tobago is battling a civil war right now. I don't think there is a civil war taking place in Trinidad and Tobago. As such, there is gangland war, but I don't see anybody right now trying to influence governments or trying to grasp power from the government. I think politics and gangs have remained as gangs, and though there's a legal definition of what a gang is, sometimes you really, really wonder where the line lays. But before we move on, because my favorite minister here in Trinidad and Tobago has made some comments which I think, and he's free to express his opinion, and I'm glad that he raised it, but I've interpreted it as laying blame to the population. The Minister of National Security, the Honorable Fitzgerald Hines Fitzy, give Vex this morning, boy. Before we get into that, I think there were a couple of things that you wanted to mention, Sean.
Oh, just two things, both bad and good. One, Cops did rescue 2, believe, kidnapped children and arrested a suspect, I assume was in the presence or was detaining / monitoring the children. So that, I think, is something that we should applaud at the end of the day, rescuing victims as opposed to finding them when it's too late. I am very happy to see that. It's not that our law enforcement isn't good enough. It's not always easy to rescue victims, regardless of what country or jurisdiction you're in. The flip side of that is, and I think this goes back to something that the ASP constantly tries to remind us, that criminals and police officers come from us, the same communities, and we, the people of TNT, make up those communities where they come from. So there is an instance where the relative of a police officer, of a senior police officer, apparently murdered a former police officer. And again, what does that say about us? There's a lot of ways to interpret that. But what it does say, I think, is that it highlights his point that for better or worse, because it could be that the police officer who is the relative of the suspect, he could have been involved in some way. He could be totally oblivious. We don't know. But we have to understand that the circumstances of where the motivation for people to turn to crime, the motivation for police officers to either stay on the straight and narrow or to veer off onto the more corrupted path. A lot of it comes from our own communities, and we kind of need to understand that. It does lead into one of the things that Minister Hines said, right? I still have criticisms with regards to that, but I think when Minister Hines says that we need the help of the population, he is not wrong to say that. That is what you are supposed to say. Unfortunately, the irony is, I believe, he set up the circumstances for that message to essentially fall on deaf ears.
Well, this is the thing. I agree that citizens have to do their part. I've never at any point in time, shied away from that. I've always stood firm to that. But the Minister of National Security suggests that if he, as the Minister, and law enforcement agencies receive the full support of the public, much more could have been done in the fight against crime. The thing is, for me, whilst there may be arguments for what you are suggesting, at the same time, I can look at it and say it's just another wormhole, it's just another avenue of excuses and another way of blaming citizens for the crime situation here. But he said that he didn't crave support, but he realizes the strength to continue must come from within and from God, and he would prefer to have the public's full backing. He said, and I quote, "It would be nice if I ever felt I had the full weight of this society behind me, leading all of the organizations of national security in our collective fight as a nation. Because after all, it's you who elected me, and it's you who pay me. And in some instances, it's us who don't want you there." Right? It would be nice, kind of ironic that I've suggested that after his comments. It would be nice if I felt I had all of your support in Trinidad and Tobago in the fight against criminals and criminality. Instead of a united fight, very often we have some division, even at the level of Parliament. But Minister Hines, with all due respect, you yourself have been at the forefront of creating division. You yourself, with your rhetoric and narrative within Parliament, you've produced divisive comments. Your commentary many a times is rather pathetic, and to me, I could blame you for division. You said you felt as much as 70% of society is against crime-fighting efforts. 50% want to fight rather than join in the fight against crime, and then the other 20% are the ones who are likely to commit crimes. Well, I don't know where you're getting your statistics from.
Wait. Repeat that again. 50%?
He felt as much as 70% of society is against crime fighting, saying that 50% want to fight rather than join in the fight against crime.
Okay.
And then the other 20% are those who are likely to commit crimes.
So 50% want to basically undermine crime-fighting efforts.
While the other 20% are those who commit
actively.
crime.
Okay.
Now, here's my issue with Minister Hines. And this is the thing. I am probably the most critical of Minister Hines, at least on this platform, at least in this station, and amongst all our guests that we've had. And I am extremely harsh on Minister Hines, but I do it only if I have a good argument, and I do it through constructive criticism. I don't go out of my way to just essentially blast a man for nothing. That is because I do not want, and I've said it before, I repeat myself again, I do not want any member of our government to fail. Because at the end of the day, it is our government. All right? At the end of the day, the majority of Trinidad and Tobago elected them to lead our nation. If each minister were to succeed in their portfolio, then Trinidad and Tobago would succeed. So I wouldn't say that we want to see you fail, sir. I want to see you do good. I want to actually see you do good, because if you do good, I will feel safer, Sean will feel safer, the whole of Trinidad and Tobago will feel safer. And then we have a better, healthier life, and the standard of living improves. But you see, the thing is, with comments like this, it's again very much misleading, because whilst you are trying to make the effort in terms of let's unite the citizenry, you're also laying blame to them for your lack of credibility as a Minister of National Security, your lack of policy, your lack of any sense of thought or thinking or constructive thinking. I would ask you as a citizen and then as a journalist, what have you done as Minister of National Security? Because his argument is, believe me, we're working. You're not going to see it, but we're actually working. That could mean anything. You attending a meeting and nothing fruitful coming out of that meeting could be you working. And I'm not going to see the results at the end of the day. So it's not that we want to see you fail. And it's not that you don't have the support of the citizens, you know. You had the support of the citizens. I will tell you that I will never have put you up to fail. But when you enter the office of Minister of National Security, you give everybody the benefit of the doubt, you wait to see. It's the same thing with Stuart Young. It's the same thing. And Sean himself made the argument, wait and see. Guess what, Minister? You've done nothing. And as far as I'm concerned, you have failed. I really wish you would have succeeded. And quite frankly, you're still in that position. There's still an opportunity for you to succeed and actually do something. But you've given us nothing. Why do you expect the citizens to feel happy and be supportive of a minister who you yourself said elected you and pay you? What are we paying you for? We can't fire you now, can we? We don't have that power.
So, contrary to what the UNC says, there has not been enough to call an election now. What happens is the government is failing at this level. We wait for your next election, and those who are disenfranchised, who don't like the job they did, will vote for an alternative. And usually that means that you get another party. That's how the democratic process works. However, right, with that said, we don't want him to fail, but we can't necessarily just say, well, you know what, it'll be fine until the next election and we'll see. No, we have to somewhat point things out now. And this is why, and I think I said this before, right? I learned this from my brother. He might not have necessarily intentionally looked to teach me, but it's how he conducts business. Do the right thing, even when it might not be necessary right now. You know, there's no requirement. It might seem minor. You could take a minor shortcut in some small thing. No. Do the right thing, even when you don't really have a reason to do it. Because, right, you don't know what unintended consequences there might be for your complacency, right? Continue at best practice with communication. Be formal. Think things through, right? Because what happens is, what you say today will affect how people perceive you tomorrow. So when I said, I agree with what he said with regards to he needs the support of the public, that part there in isolation, forget the rest of it, that is something that he should be saying. That is something that he should be saying that is necessary to help rally the citizenry behind crime-fighting efforts. Of course, I'll save my opinion on the rest of the comments for later. The problem is, even with that alone, when he said before that it is not his job to make you feel safe, it's undermining his credibility with the citizenry. Why are they going to take his subsequent messages seriously? That's why you do the right thing. You think through what you're going to say. You consider the long-term implications. And this is not something that is a fault of his alone. More often than not, we see politicians seemingly contradict themselves. Why? Because they don't think things through. They think what they want to say in the short term, usually because they're very defensive of criticism. So they want to push back against the criticism and defend themselves. Usually the defense does not work. So it's even laughable, the fact that they don't get the results that they think that they want to get. This is not a schoolyard argument. This is national politics. This is mass communication to the citizens of the country who are disgruntled with regards to how effective you are in a very important position, right? And to my co-host's point, we need leadership that has not been provided, either from the Commissioner of Police currently, as much as he's tried to do it, that's not within his skill set, let's just be honest. And dare I say, that is not within the skill set of most of the senior officers that we have seen in the TTPS. Now, to be fair, perhaps they're being suppressed by the politics of the situation, because it's not a very simple situation. But usually, the leadership that we'd expect from a country as small as ours will come either from the Commissioner of Police, if he is a dynamic enough personality, or the Minister of National Security, as well as also potentially Prime Minister. We haven't really gotten that. And again, now we go on to the other parts of his comments. It's true. When you're looking to throw blame on the citizens, it's very hard for them to unite. So you're asking for support, but then blaming them for being the cause. How exactly are they supposed to support you after that? Again, we're not saying this because we want to see you fail. Why do I want to see you fail? We're on the road for 600 murders.
I don't want to see any minister fail.
I need that to be solved. It's similar to when we say to the opposition. We want the opposition to be strong because we need the check to balance the government. But right now, both sides are not looking hot.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's continue this conversation in a moment. We just have to take a quick break here, hopefully without a long break, according to our director, but hopefully it'll be short enough where we'll have time before news on the hour. So we'll be right back after this.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website, www.fanzonett.com, for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website, fanzonett.com, to make your purchase today.
Better Value Limited has been making gift giving easier and more affordable for over 26 years. Power tools, indoor, outdoor furniture and accessories, mini appliances, designer fragrances, houseware and home decor products, and all your bridal registry items. Now in stock, our stylish loft bed and study desk combo unit for just $16.50. Better Value Limited. Call 235-3709 or visit us at Princestown or Gulfview, or check our Facebook page.
Step into a spacious place of creative ideas for your home space. Our floor and wall tiles and natural stone is ideal for any use you need in your home. Toilet, bathroom sets and vanities lend design to your creativity, while jacuzzis and shower enclosures create the mood for dwelling on life's pleasures. Lamps and lighting fixtures add ambience and memorable pictures. Making your home a work of art. Oceans Industrial Complex, Union Road, Marabella.
We're on set with a strength and conditioning coach. His name is Mr. Gregory Seal, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about what strength and conditioning means.
For instance, in the EPL or the La Liga, where it's so high, and I'm constantly hearing young people saying that they want to play in these leagues, but these leagues are demanding physically. So if you're not preparing your bodies for that early, you're not going to make it. But we also use it as a form of fatigue monitoring.
What's up, Doc? Tuesdays and Thursdays here on WESN, Content Capital.
Welcome back to Talking Point. Continuing now with the conversation, and I'm glad that you brought up the opposition as well, because we should be fair. Again, I don't know. I agree. I don't want the opposition to fail.
Right, we don't want them to fail.
Yeah, I don't want the opposition, because you see, a stronger opposition will lead to stronger accountability. Unfortunately, this opposition is weak, and I think it's deliberate, because there is so much stuff still in the air between 2010 and 2015 that they themselves have to be very careful what buttons they press as it relates to the government, because the government could just turn around and go after all of them.
And I mean, it might seem obvious, but I want to point it out. That's one of the things about doing the right thing, right? You do the right thing so that you don't look like a hypocrite. You are not the pot calling kettle black when it's time for you to point fingers at the other side. And with that, in that aspect, I agree with you. But I'm not so sure that it is a case where they're trying to sack their position for any real grand strategy.
So I would ask the Minister of National Security this morning, Fitzgerald Hines. Your comments are essentially yourself and the law enforcement agencies do not have the support of the public. I think you're wrong. I think there is a lack of confidence, but there is still that level of support, surely out of hope and out of the fact that there's nobody else to turn to. That's one. Two, nobody wanted to see you fail, and nobody wants to see you fail. If you succeed or succeeded, trust me, TNT would have been in a far better place. We would have put a statue of you as you enter Port of Spain as the most effective Minister of National Security, or at least as a Minister of National Security has gotten something done. But you have failed. And you haven't failed for any one citizen's fault. You failed on your own. And whether or not you have not received or have received the support of your colleagues within Cabinet, that's an entirely different debate. But the mere fact is you have not been able to get the job done. It seems as though you're a puppet for the Prime Minister, but it also seems as though you have not one clue what to do as an individual, rather than the continued political gimmickry and narrative of your comments that could be seen as divisive. Within Parliament, you yourself have created division. Now you're lamenting division in TNT. I mean, that's hypocrisy at its finest. Should I have expected better from you? Not what I've learned and not what I've seen in the last few years. So don't blame anybody else for your failures as minister. Why not blame your colleagues, or rather, maybe in public they've said so much good things about you. Have they supported you behind closed doors? And again,
or would it be the flip side? They say such good things behind closed doors, do they support you in public?
And I think they do support him publicly, amongst their circles, probably not. But the thing is, at the end of the day, you've done nothing. You have done nothing. You said you're dealing with the affairs of the nation seriously. Great. The scan and the port has been down for over a year. They've said that they've actually, and they have evidence to prove that they've sent communications. Nothing has been done about it.
So one thing, to be fair to most government ministers, although at this point it is borderline of being a cheap excuse, there's certain aspects that a minister will not have control over his portfolio because cabinets will be overseeing things on high. One of those specifically would be budget, and the Minister of Finance would be very, very, very much holding on to where money goes. Some of it for good reason, because funds are limited. Some of it potentially questionable, right? Usually to get out of inflation, you try to start the economy going by spending a lot, but the inflation is supply side, so it complicates the situation. Now, with that said, so I say that to say the minister is potentially fighting one hand behind his back with regards to policy decisions, resource allocation, etc. With regards to communication and how he presents things publicly, however, that I would hazard a guess to say that's all him. So all of your points today with what he said, why it's bad, I believe are valid. And with regards to the poll, or with regards to his statistics, maybe there was a poll done, maybe there was a formal poll done, but I do wonder, to your point, the lack of confidence, if you word the question badly, it may give us that result where it seems as though people disagree with crime fighting, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they want to actively hinder crime fighting. That's what he's implying, that 50% are actively against it. Maybe where the population is disgruntled and they disagree because it's not effective and they want to see change. The flip side to that is if it's an informal thing, he's taking the pulse of the man on the street and he's doing it in his constituency. It could be that his constituency has their own bones to pick with him, and that's why it's going to come across that they're against him with regards to crime fighting as well.
I think I would also like to acknowledge, I know the job as a minister is not easy. Now, according to Professor, the job of the minister and the prime minister is easy. They have to enforce everything that already exists, and there's oversight to ensure that everybody's doing their job.
In theory, it's easy.
Right. So I will admit, the job is not easy, and you will face difficulties. But the thing is, you said that you've been working hard, and there are stuff that is being done. But let me give you a prime example. Yesterday, we raised something here on Talking Point with respect to the procurement of CCTV cameras, when Senator Wade Mark was questioning you over whether or not there needed to be an investigation into the procurement of CCTV cameras. Based off of the questioning and based off of what we saw, that script within the halls of the Senate that took place last week, and Christine Kanglu, essentially, as far as I'm concerned, and Her Excellency Christine Kanglu, she just came to rescue you. Essentially, that's what happened. Now, the thing is for me is, when you said that there's a lot happening, we just don't see it, but you don't show it to us. You don't communicate to us, so we don't know. But the little instances that there is communication, such as what took place, when every time a question was asked, you repeated the same thing. The Honorable Attorney General has advised that no investigation is needed. But you gave no details at all. You gave no, and I give credit to Senator Wade Mark for continuously going after the minister. And there are individuals within the opposition who have done well. Collectively, though, a totally different story. But, Minister Hines, I mean, your communication is poor and pathetic. It's only when you go on social media looking for likes, looking for the support from your followers on your Facebook page, as according to one caller yesterday, and I agree, sycophants, then that is when, I don't know, you make a good master of ceremonies possibly, or you might put some people to sleep. I don't know. The thing is, what are you good at? What are you good at? You're good at public speaking, although you don't know when to stop. You just don't know when to stop. Here's the thing. Let me stop now, because I'm probably going too far and too long. Let me just ask the callers. Should I really be this harsh on the Minister of National Security, and should I really blame him? Or should I blame the Prime Minister for appointing a political puppet to the position where he cannot do anything? And should I also blame the Prime Minister for not removing him from this portfolio because you want somebody there who you could control essentially? Should I blame the Prime Minister for that, for not removing him because he's failed?
The irony is, and this might actually be a good sign, in countries that are unstable or destabilizing, one of the areas that you want to have, finance is a big one, national security is a big one. Those have a lot of power. Finance controls the money, national security controls the guns, right? However, our country is not that unstable. And, a minister in charge of the defense force and the police cannot, wield excessive amounts of corrupt power. It seems as though, so that's something to be thankful for, folks. The irony is, it seems as though that's a very unpopular posting, because I believe the issues with crime, to be fair to the Minister of National Security, they're nowhere near easy to fix. Right? And it could be so long term that you could do everything right and not actually make a dent in the situation during your term there, but perhaps we might see the results down the line. So the question is, yes, he could remove Hines, but replace Hines with who? Who wants the job? From what I understand, I have heard that nobody wants the job. That's Stuart Young. He did the job because that's his basic personality. Stuff needs to be done, I'll get it done. But even he was like, no, I've had enough of this. I don't want to do it anymore. Again, that's what I've heard, right? So Hines, perhaps he's literally the only one who is even willing to sit in that seat. Or maybe he's reluctant and he was told, hey, You had to be there. Somebody had to do it, and I choose you. So I'm not too sure if it's easy to replace him from that aspect of getting a willing / able person. But there's another thing that I want to bring up, because I'm going to go back to this point again. I think that the various arms of the Ministry of National Security, they have the same problem as other public services or other public bureaucracies. Jobs to appease the public. Government jobs for people who want jobs, not necessarily for people who want to protect and serve. And at least we're hearing from Minister Gonzalez something about work being done to change that culture in WASA. We haven't necessarily heard about other areas under his portfolio. One could argue that WASA is taking too long and or the changes are not effective enough. That's debatable. But from Minister Hines, we're not hearing anything really substantial about turning the situation around. At least former Commissioner Griffith, it could have been lip service or he could have been serious. Was talking about getting the TTPS to be more professional, have a greater emphasis on customer service and being held to a higher standard of more accountability. But we've had incidents now that involve Defence Force members. There were incidents that involved Coast Guard members. There are incidents that are piling up with regards to police officers. And we're not hearing the minister say anything about cleaning up the Ministry of National Security and all the various services, whether it's to get the bad apples out. We hear the Prime Minister say something about it, like a couple lines. The bad apples out, but also the ones who are just there to collect a check. Because it's one thing to collect a check in the ministry of whatever. You could be an office worker collecting a check, fine. When you're in a police station and you're just there to collect a check, I have a problem with that.
So my issue as well with relation to what you suggested, that there's nobody who wants that job. There's nobody within the current PNM cabinet who wants that job.
Yes.
Within the cabinet.
From what I understand.
Right, good.
From
Then
what I
bring
understand.
somebody from the outside. Not everybody have to be a PNM member to, to get the job done.
They don't want an independent cabinet minister, Keaton.
So let me ask you, a couple questions now. It's just holding up press conference is not doing your job, by the way. I'm just suggesting. I mean, it's part of your job. That's not the be-all and end-all. What has the Honourable Nyan Gatsby as the Minister of Education done? When schools across Trinidad and Tobago are falling apart, children are not guaranteed an education. And from what I understand, many schools this term didn't even have a full term of classes. There were rotation classes, not because of COVID-19, but because of the conditions of the classrooms and the school infrastructure. For example, look at St. George's and where they were relocated to. And apparently the state of that campus, the UTC campus in Valsayn, is already, that itself is falling apart.
From what I understand, they expect schools to be ready for the following term, all schools to be ready.
I think you're being proactive in suggesting
somehow.
what they're going to do.
No, I was reported.
The Honourable Lisa Morris Jr., Minister in the Ministry of Education, what has she done? The Honourable Fitzgerald Hines, what has he done? Could anybody answer these questions for me? Right, because I follow the news every day. I follow all these individuals every day. What has Colin Imber done? I'm sorry to laugh. Somebody, besides shortchanging nation, what has Colin Imber done? All right? Senator the Honourable Alison West, Minister of Public Administration. What does a Ministry of Public Administration actually do when I don't know what she's done? So what's the point?
I mean, do we complain to her about all the government offices being inefficient?
Senator the Honourable Hazel Bacchus, Minister of Digital Transformation.
Oh, well, we know nothing's been done.
He's transformed himself into a hologram because I don't know where he has been.
He's transformed himself into a minister because that didn't exist before him, but other than that, nothing's been done.
Here's your favorite one.
To collect a check.
Senator the Honourable Randall Mitchell, Minister of Tourism, Culture and the Arts in Trinidad and Tobago. I think you could answer that question. Stephen McClashy, Minister of Labour. What have you done?
We're still waiting for the work from home policy to help us deal with the pandemic.
What has Penelope Beckles done as Minister of Planning and Development? Shamfa Kujo as Minister of Sports and Community Development. I think the latest thing that I've heard from you, and the only thing that I've heard from you as Minister of Sport and Community Development, is the fact that you're going to dismantle the Heasley Crawford Stadium. Right, you're going to knock that entire infrastructure down and rebuild it.
When you're more famous for saying nobody lives in the mountain ranges in Tobago, which from what I understand is not necessarily
No, but
true.
Trinis are very creative. They actually made a parang out of it, by the way.
Right? So it's like, that's what you're famous for. You're famous for not actually talking about your own portfolio. Because I lamented sports.
She said she didn't want the portfolio of sports. It wasn't what she said it herself. She said, I don't want this because, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, sports is not really one of my strongest points. So I was a little disappointed when I was given. She said it.
So now, okay, is it fair then? Should she be there?
Senator, we had to go for news, but I just have to. Senator, the Honorable Paula Gopi-Schoon, thank you for coming on WSN for the budget panel. That's all you've really done as a minister. I can't say to anything else as to what you've done.
No,
Rohan Sinanan,
I think he's done a little bit more than a
Rohan Sinanan, who
Maybe
cannot put two sentences or one sentence together.
Yeah.
Kazim Hossain is the Minister of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries.
He has one initiative that's out in the press, which I applaud, but it's only one. We needed more.
It's an initiative
we needed more.
Has it been implemented?
We needed, well, regardless, we needed more than that given the cost of food. To be fair, we needed more than that.
You should have stayed as Mayor of San Fernando. Foster Cummings. I can go and touch Foster Cummings. Anyway, Honorable Brian Manning, Minister in the Ministry of Finance. Avina Singh. Nigel De Freitas. Did you know that we had a junior minister called Nigel De Freitas and a junior minister called Adrian Leons? Did you know that?
I think I've heard of them, but I keep forgetting that they're there. Because they don't do anything.
We break for news on the hour. Listen, if we've been unfair, if we've been harsh, and if our criticisms do not stand on firm ground, call in this morning and correct us. Please do. I would love to hear. I would love to hear from you, the viewer, and you, the citizens. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Correct us. We're open for that. And my question too is, who do we blame for the Minister of National Security's feelings? The Minister of National Security himself, or the mere fact that the Prime Minister appointed him and has not removed him as he has failed? We'll be right back after this.
Here is your WESN News on the Hour. I am Denise Martin. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Finance Minister wins lawsuit brought against him. Mother and baby murdered in Muruga. National Security Minister receives draft FUL policy. And internationally, EU nations agree gas price cap to shield consumers. Now for the details. Finance Minister Colin Bitt has won a lawsuit brought against him by a UNC activist. In March 2022, opposition activist Ravi Balgobin Miraj filed a lawsuit against the minister over the minister's decision to appoint businessman Patrick Ferreira as chairman of the National Insurance Board. Miraj's lawyers claimed that Minister Imbitt's decision on Ferreira's appointment, made in January, was illegal. In his defense, Minister Imbitt pointed out that the National Insurance Act made it clear that while the board shall act in accordance with the general policy directions of the government given by the minister, when exercising and performing its functions, powers and duties, the board shall be subject to the control or direction of no other person or authority. Patrick Ferreira will therefore continue to act as chairman of the National Insurance Board until the expiration of his term in office. A mother and her one-year-old baby was killed in Muruga last night. According to reports, just before 8 p.m., the victims were inside a car at number 2 Fort George when a man armed with a rifle emerged from a vehicle and opened fire. Sashel Elliott and her one-year-old daughter Nova Barton died at the scene, while Akil Barton, the father of the baby, was injured and taken to the hospital for treatment. The vehicle was subsequently intercepted whilst heading towards the highway by police officers attached to the Southern Division ERP. 2 suspects arrested and an assault rifle was recovered. Meanwhile, in Blanchisseuse, a man was gunned down in an apparent robbery. Reports say the victim was identified as Mark Perrier, who is said to be a foreign national. Perrier recently bought a property in the area which is in close proximity to the police station. Investigations are continuing. The Office of the Law and Enforcement Policy has given National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines the draft FUL border security policies. The documents are expected to be reviewed before the Cabinet.
When the Cabinet accepts it, it becomes the policy position, and Trinidad and Tobago, particularly those who administer the Firearms Act, Chapter 1601, must be guided by it. This policy touches all kinds of things about the way we dispose of ammunition, ranges, how they are granted. It's a very, very thorough arrangement, making recommendations, no doubt, for legislative changes in other policy positions, and that sort of thing.
In international news now, European Union nations have agreed to cap soaring wholesale gas prices to protect consumers across the bloc. From 15th February, prices will be limited if they breach 180 euros per megawatt hour for 3 days running. It follows weeks of wrangling in which Germany and others sought safeguards to ensure the cap would be suspended if it had negative consequences. Gas prices have spiked as EU countries seek ways to import less Russian gas following its invasion of Ukraine. Well, that was your news of the hour on WESN. I am Denise Martin. Thanks for watching.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, The Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Welcome back to Talking Point here on WESN Content Capsule. Thank you for staying with us, and thank you very much to Denise Martin for news on the hour. Ladies and gentlemen, let's open up the phone lines now where you, the viewer, can share your thoughts and opinions with us. I mean, this morning we spoke about national security. We've been doing that quite often simply because it's really at the forefront of the situation here in Trinidad and Tobago. Because whilst finance and the economy really is what's plaguing us and probably the biggest part of the equation, crime actually affects finance and the economy to the extent that there will be no investment or no confidence or no consumer confidence. On the flip side, with no money, that could lead to increased levels of crime and criminality. So it goes both ways, but that's what we were discussing this morning, ladies and gentlemen, especially the comments from the Minister of National Security about the public wanting to see him feel, and if he had the support of the public, as well as law enforcement, had the support of the public, then more could have been done to fight in the fight against crime.
So, folks, call in, don't wait until the last moment, as I normally say, because that's when we get our backlog. We're speaking about the Minister of National Security. That's one of the big issues. The economy is another one that has its own issues, and we speak about that regularly too. But with regards to national security, the question is, should Minister Hines be replaced? I'm not sure if it's practical. Who you're going to replace him with, where you're going to find the person, who's going to be willing, and who will the cabinet accept? That's the unfortunate thing. Will they be willing to bring in an insider? They did that for the position of AG, but then we don't know to what extent the current AG was basically somebody on the payroll of the Office of the Attorney General and was already key to a lot of the advice given beforehand to the then AG, Farah Sawari. I want to use Shamfa Kujo as an example because she said that she didn't want the post that's not within her strength. One could argue that Minister Hines, at the very least, should have enough experience that it's within his ballpark. But let's just put that aside. The current Minister of Sport and Community Development,
Shamfa Kujo,
is saying that this is not within her ballpark, and she was slightly disappointed.
She said this.
She said this when when they had the shuffle, right? I believe it would have been after the last general, because she was the Minister of Tourism for the previous term. Is it fair for her to say that? And should we accept that and say, yes, maybe she should not be there? Or is it that, look, you're an elected politician, you know, we can't always get what we want. You're there for leadership and administration, not to be some technical expert. You have a permanent secretary and a lot of people in the ministry to do that for you, right? And should we demand that it doesn't matter what you get, you should still do a good job, right? Because I'm not entirely sure that it's unfair or fair for her to be put in that position. I'm not sure where I stand. But then now, with regards to why that matters for the question of Ministry of National Security, you know, if any of the candidates potentially are reluctant, do you just force somebody else if you need to make a change to take that post?
What I've realized is that a lot of these ministers are here, and I don't know for what particular reason, but it's really because of recurring expenditure to ensure that that takes place, because there's no such investment or development. I think it's unfair to the citizens, because often enough, I mean, even Andrew Batiste had an interview on this station, and I think it was with Brent Sancho. Now, Brent Sancho has showed his political colors. He's a former minister of sports under the People's Partnership Administration. But he made a very valuable point. He says sports isn't, you know, taken seriously anymore in Trinidad and Tobago. But at the same time, if you have a minister of sports who doesn't care about sports, and it's not our strongest point, it's unfair to this population.
You know, one of the things that can help with giving country some pride with the to help the economy as well as to help with crime, sports and community development. Caller?
Hence the name of the ministry. We have a caller there with us from Dabity. Good morning, caller.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Mr. Blackman, good morning, sir. How are you?
Yes, I am fine. Wonderful program as usual, and compliments to the season CEO, both of you and your family, and I wish you all a safe and healthy Christmas and a bright and prosperous New Year.
Thank you, sir. All the very best to you as well.
Yeah, I want to disagree with some of your comments this morning, if you would allow me.
Of course, yes.
I just want to speak on the issue of crime, and I have been talking on it for quite a while. Let's not look at the person who has the ultimate responsibility, and let's look at the issue alone. Taking the minister out of it, we know that programs and policies are integral to the efficiency and proper working of the ministry. But crime is a thing that if we, as Mr. Hines said, and I agree with him totally, if all of us don't support the fight against crime, we will end up being the losers as we are presently. And I think that if you do the analysis of it, both of you will agree with me, that in itself is the genesis of the problem. Because presently as we speak, there are mothers and fathers, people who know that they are AK in their house and they're doing nothing about it. They know that the person next to them is pushing weed or doing cocaine and that kind of thing, and they do nothing about it. They know that illegal trafficking is going on, human trafficking, and they do nothing about it. And I'm not speaking about just people at the lower echelon of our society, you know, at all levels. The person on the port, the customs officer, the senior customs officers know that within a container there are stuff there. High-level police officers know things, know that they know all the drug blocks and they're not doing anything about it. Their mobile patrols going about in certain areas and they do nothing about it. So my point this morning, gentlemen, I would like you to consider it, that taking Mr. Hines out of it, taking law enforcement out of the mix, that crime is something that we all need to work against.
Well, Mr. Blackman,
I do appreciate your program through the year, and God bless you all. And wonderful program as usual. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, sir.
We have another caller. I'll respond. I don't
Good
disagree
hearing
with
from
what
you.
you said. Good hearing from you, yes.
I would also respond to you after the caller because, well, let's take the call first. Good morning, caller from Shigonas.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good to hear from you.
Thank you. thank you all for pointing out my error on Haiti. And I must apologize to the people. They were quite right in their comments.
I actually thought that you were correct, so I was also corrected at the same time with regards to Haiti.
No problem. Thank you. We mentioned the politicians saying 70% of the people is against fighting crime. I keep telling you that crime is not the original problem. Crime is the cause of maintaining law and order. And 100% of them is against law and order. Because I've explained to you how you get law and order with the annual administrative report, and they are not doing it. And finally, you keep mentioning that I say these jobs are easy and you disagree with me. But you have never given me any reason why those jobs are difficult if they follow the rules, as I have explained in maintaining, because I said the whole thing is about optimizing the standard of people by using law and order. Right? How is this job difficult if you follow the rules? You have the Prime Minister who talk about annual administrative reports with Kamala Prasad, Bisesa, and he don't use it. He's making the job difficult. Any questions?
My question to you is simple. You said 100% people are against law and order. Are you against law and order?
The what?
Are you against law and order?
Lawyer? No, I'm not a lawyer.
So I am.
But I've studied.
No. I was asking if you were against law and order. You know, but
I am something for an order. I'm not telling you.
Okay. No. It's okay, Professor.
You're just being.
Listen,
Professor, he's just being.
I'm being.
He's playing on semantics with regards to your words.
Yes, so it's not important, but thank you very much for your contribution.
Thank you.
The point I was trying to make is you have a point when suggesting that the majority of the population, I wouldn't go as far as to say 100% are against law and order.
Because you yourself would be part of that 100%
exactly,
to make it
right?
complete.
So it was just a joke, but my argument is not everybody's against law and order, but there is a majority. A simple thing like breaking a one-way system where there are no entry signs and yet you still drive through. A simple little thing like spitting your chewing gum or throwing away a bill at the side of the road, or even a cap from a beer bottle or a glass bottle. That's littering. That's against the law. A simple little thing like not yielding to the traffic lights or actually obeying the signals given by the traffic lights. A red light means stop, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, and a yellow light doesn't mean speed up.
Yeah.
It means slow down. So simple things like that, we don't pay attention to.
So this goes back, what the professor said, I'll answer him first. What the professor said with regards to we do not uphold law and order. Oh, sorry. Why are the politicians' jobs hard? It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be. He's right. Why? What happens when you tell your friend a white lie? Now you have to work extra hard to maintain that lie. But if you just said the truth, you won't have to expend that effort, right? It goes back to what I said with regards to what I learned from my brother. He will never look to take shortcuts or even less than legal means. He would never do that. We know of businesses that do. But he is not willing to do it. Why? Because he doesn't then want to have to be bothered with the effort it would take to maintain those things. When you have issues with corruption in government, it complicates the job. Because now you yourself don't have to be corrupt, but you now have to navigate through these muddy waters. And that leads me to answer Davide's point.
Go ahead.
Those who swim against the current drown.
Well, I will simply suggest, Mr. Blackburn, your call and your contribution, I considered it while you were speaking. I agree 100% and fully with what you were suggesting and what you were saying. I've never ever been against that, and that was a part of my argument this morning, that yes, we all need to do our part. I agree with you fully.
Yes.
I will not completely
remove
the Minister of National Security from the equation, though.
No. The real but is those who swim against the current drown. How do you know who to trust to report these things. You yourself said it. You know of a situation where the supermarket owner who's operated as a bar is being covered by the local police in the area. How do you know who to trust to take these complaints to? Because look at the example we brought this morning. If we believe the motivation behind Andrea Barra's killing.
I wanted to finish my point, but I will finish it after this call from Diego Martin. Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Season's greetings to you, sir. Good to hear from you.
Same to you and all your family, and be careful outside here, and I want you all to be safe so we can see you all next year as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I've been trying to get through, but it's a little difficult these days. So, but I'm just thinking about Mr. Fitzgerald Hines' comments and so on. He's a gentleman you just listen to, and well, you pick whatever little sense there is out of it, and you continue your life on. Because when he makes comments, sometimes it's not really worth listening to. But I have, he keeps asking the public to help the government, help police solve crime and all sorts of things. People, you must understand, private citizens have their families and their life to live as well. But they cannot put themselves in the line of duty for these things. That is what the police is there for. I mean, if you're coming to do that, ask kindly and say, listen, we'll appreciate any sort of help from you all. Don't make it like you put the whole burden on the people outside here. They cannot do that. They have families and they have things to look forward to in the future in their lives. So he should be able to ask in a nicer way and say, you know, look, we appreciate you all doing certain things and whatnot and whatnot. Because you know the trust of the police, when I have had instances when I made reports of certain things where that is concerned. And they just brushed me aside. Some jobs I saw was coming in on the foreshore here for years. And while they're going to work in the morning, so go to 3 o'clock in the morning. And it's coming right in front of your face there. Right, when I make reports and you just brush it aside, nothing about it. So I don't know if I'm able to get the opportunity to get him back again to talk to you all. So you enjoy the holidays.
Thank you, caller.
And enjoy the best. I saw my boy on Love Momendy on Sunday on that program. Excellent.
You should.
And
you should have come and say hi anyway.
I always enjoy seeing you. I look forward to it every time there's a program like that and Believe and so on. So, as I say, enjoy and thanks. I must say my team won the World Cup, and I am very glad for that as well.
Well, I'm happy for you for.
Actually, I'm happy Messi got his title. Thank you, caller.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have another caller, quick from San Fernando.
Yes. Good morning, caller from San Fernando.
Yeah.
Morning, you're live.
Good morning.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, looking at the TV now when I see two commentators there, but I ain't think they hear me, so I'm talking to you.
No. You're on the air.
We can hear you.
You're on the air. Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Right. So I tell her, no, by hearing a certain noise on the.
Don't listen to the TV. Don't listen to the TV. There's a delay. Just talk to us, caller, on the phone.
All right. Yeah, I know they hear me now. Let me tell you. One.
Caller, don't listen to the TV.
No, don't talk, because if you keep
talking.
No,
I hear you, but I mean, it's a communication. Anyhow, I'll take off the TV a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. So let me tell you now. I am saying that I need a minute or two, and I used to be in Arthur Lookjack with Kamla Prasad Bisesla. She and also are looking at the Prime Minister, Keith Rowley. I used to be in the school in 2005. And I am saying right now, both of you does not share all you and all you. PNM are doing well and all they're saying that UNC are doing well, but all they're really concentrating on UNC. Now, me and Kamla Prasad Bisesla supporter, you know. I am a UNC if it comes to, but me really, I prefer support a party that really is Creole and Indian, not Creole alone or Indian alone.
Okay, fair enough.
And I have this problem with both of you saying all they're supporting PM, all they're supporting UNT. How this like all they could operate like that? I'm sorry for the language. Because I am educated and my background is a long history. You know. How this like all they could I'm sorry for the language. How all they could concentrate on PNM or is there PNM? Is there who are they supporting? And I am saying when you look at the station, sorry about the timing. When you look at the station, only one Indian have any thing, like the boy on the side. The rest of people, when you look at the station, and the other figure people will look at that. When you look at the station, every fucking body is not Indian. How that could happen?
All right, cool.
So I am saying, I know it. Others started coming in night. In the night now, you don't see audio. I don't know what time it is because I take it. That's my problem. I take DJs. And I just can't see audio. I know when audio coming on. So I only have to communicate better. I am a supporter. I am saying, yes, you have a good program. Both of you good men.
Thank
I am
you.
saying it's good men. That's why I watch all you.
Caller, I apologize. I'm going to
watch.
have to cut you there because we do have to go to a break. But I must apologize to you. I want to thank you for your contribution. But very quickly, I don't know if I should... You know what? Let me take that break. I'll give you the opportunity to switch back on the volume on your television so you can hear my response right after this.
It's the season to be jolly. That brings a smile. That lasts a lifetime from Simon's Musical Supplies. We have drums of all kinds. Quattro, myra, guitar, trumpet, clarinets, and flutes. At Simon's, we have it all for you. A violin, a mandolin, steel pan, a piano, or simply a music stand. Music books and everything for a band. Simon's Musical Supplies.
Come visit our new location, 20 Boat Street, Port of Spain, or call 625-6412.
Music and trees, all come through.
Your Christmas is safe with us at PCU. Police Credit Union. Police Credit Union. Your Christmas is safe with us at PCU. Police Credit Union. PCU. Police Credit Union.
Get an easy zero-interest Christmas loan at Police Credit Union today. Borrow up to $25,000 with affordable monthly payments. New members, you get up to $10,000. No interest, no installments until January. Apply online at www.policecreditunion.com. Loan subject to credit approval.
Making your home a work of art. Step into a spacious place of creative ideas for your home space. Our floor and wall tiles and natural stone is ideal for any use you need in your home. Toilet, bathroom sets and vanities lend design to your creativity, while jacuzzis and shower enclosures create the mood for dwelling on life's pleasures. Lamps and lighting fixtures add ambience and memorable pictures. Making your home a work of art. Olsen's Industrial Complex, Union Road, Marabella.
Welcome back to Talking Point. Caller from San Fernando, thank you very much for your contribution this morning. Now, first of all, we apologize for the interruption in our nightly, our replays, simply because it's the Christmas season, so we thought we might change things up a bit. Enjoy some Christmas music. I'm pretty sure you get tired of hearing us all the time, and I'm enjoying the Christmas classics, and so should you. So we will be back from January from 9 o'clock in the night. You can catch us here on WESN. You know, you said you've been watching this show for a long time. I may have to disagree with that, because as much as you're saying that we are constantly critical of the People's National Movement, I'm the biggest critic of the United National Congress on this station and on this show. Now, you're an educated man, and as an educated man, you will know that you are entitled to vote for whoever you want to and support whoever you want to. But you would also know, I respect that, but you would also know that we don't have to vote for the same party, and we don't have to agree for the same party, or we don't even have to say who we vote for or who we support. So I hope that you would respect that. Thirdly, you're an educated individual, as I repeated before, and I repeated for this point. On this station, we have diverse programming, and we have very talented individuals who make this program successful. And you may see me as an Indian, and you may see Sean as a white man, and you may see Kemuel as an Afro man. Whatever you see them as, at the end of the day, I'm a Trinbagonian. I'm just as Trini as Sean is. I'm just as Trini as Kemuel is. I'm just as Trini as Andre, as Andy Johnson, as Rondell Donowa, as Sule. I could call all the hosts. It doesn't matter whether or not I have my ancestry from India or Sean's ancestry is from, well, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you.
Well, more than one place.
It's all over. He's a Pilau, so he's more Trini than anybody else. But the mere fact is, caller, even if you don't see more than one individual on this station that has ancestry linked back to India, it don't make a difference. Because right now I live in Trinidad. Trinidad and Tobago is my home. It is my land. It is my love. And that is for the very purpose that each and every individual will always be welcome to Talking Point and to WESN. And that, sir, is a bit of education for you. You can always join us in Talking Point, where we are equal opportunity critics to both the United National Congress and the People's National Movement. And if you hear us criticize the government, which is the PNM-led government, more than we criticize the opposition, it's because they are in power.
Yeah. Just want to clarify that last point. Government sets policy, implements projects and initiatives, and communicates and leads the people, shows leadership. The opposition only does the last of those things. So obviously, we will have less to say about the opposition. And to be fair, there's supposed to be less criticism going in the opposition's way because they're not implementing policy. They're not implementing initiatives. But, it seems as though the one function that they have to do, we cannot just let them off the hook. Because again, we want both sides of Parliament to be strong. Because we all in this together. We all going to get out of this together. We will be stronger together, to borrow a Hillary Clinton phrase, to mind the fact that she was awkward as hell. But we will be stronger together if we decide to come together. But as I said earlier, and I'll just remind people, I have not really seen it in our Parliament. Both sides seem to be very much prefer to be antagonistic to each other.
And I've said it before. For those who may be educated but short-sighted, I made the comment that Keaton Shaw, Shaw Michael Small, and Kemuel Pascal, when we do that show together, three individuals, an Afro-Trinbagonian, an Indo-Trinbagonian, and a Pilau Trinbagonian.
Fried rice.
Fried rice Trinbagonian.
Thank you.
I will simply say that was racial harmony. It seemed that way simply because of the mindset and how people think. Caller from San Fernando, I hear you. I respect your opinion. Unfortunately, I'm not entirely in agreement with it. And that is where we have to conclude our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to all our callers and to all our viewers. You're basically what makes Talking Point running. You keep us going, you keep us pushing, because it's not easy. It's mentally draining at times. But we appreciate your support. Thank you very much to our directors. A separate thanks for Burke. And thank you very much, of course, to everybody here at WSN who makes this possible. To my co-host and colleague, Mr. Sean Michael Small. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can donate just one can or one meal this Christmas, and even beyond Christmas, then it goes a long way in making somebody's Christmas a little bit merrier and putting a smile on their face. Do it, donate, give. Please give. Whatever you can, just give. Today is a good day to have a good day. Remember, we can make it if we try. Bye-bye.